The 2014 FIA World Touring Car Championship is about to get underway on the streets of the capital of Morocco, Marrakech. We are ready for the season to begin. Well, welcome to a hot and humid Marrakech. 31 degrees of air temperature, track 35. Inside the cars, it'll be closer to sauna temperatures, 60 degrees plus, for the two races here on this fast, very bumpy and very demanding circuit. Mehdi Banani, the local hero in a front-running car, will be the big focus of attention for most of the locals. But of course, one of the biggest stories in motorsport over the winter has been the arrival of Citroën, the multiple World Rally Championship winning team, and driver Sebastian Loeb in the World Touring Car Championship. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven. Sitting alongside me, I'm thrilled again to have the services of multiple British Touring Car champion Matt Neal. And Matt, whenever anybody comes in to rattle the establishment, especially with the change of rules that they seem best prepared for, you're going to see all the rules that we previously thought changing, and that was what makes this such a fascinating race.
That's right, Martin. I mean, Citroën have done their homework and they've come in and they really hit the ground running. And because the regulations, they're not an evolution of what we've been seeing before, the S2000 regulations. It's a complete new, clean sheet of paper. And that means dramatic changes, and the cars have been designed from the ground up, much like the new Formula One cars and engine scenario. So Citroën have really done their homework. They've been working on this for 12 months in advance. So a lot of the other teams are already playing catch up with them. So we're going to see that Citroën dominance here. We've seen them dominating in qualifying, but the inter-house battle and fight, they've got three very hard chargers, very fast customers, you know, of which Loeb is actually on the back foot because of his racing experience rather than rallying. So it's going to be really exciting to see the Citroën in-house battle unfold, and everyone else scrapping behind them and snapping at the Citroën's heels as well.
Well, what a place to bring a brand new car. Most of the cars, other than the Citroëns, almost untested in any shape or form. And they come here to a demanding street circuit. Jose Maria Lopez is the man who starts on pole position, the only one of the Citroën drivers who's not a multiple world champion. 9 times rally world champion Sebastian Loeb on the outside front row. Tom Chilton starts third in a Royal Motorsport Chevrolet ahead of Ivan Muller, who cut a chicane on his fast lap. Dusan Borkovic, a rookie, starts in 5th. He says he is rather nervous, and René Munich will start 6th place on the grid. Great qualifying for him ahead of the Sol Castrol Honda of Thiago Montero. Norbert Mikulits in a Honda, Mehdi Banani in a Honda next up, and then Tom Coronel, for many years a BMW driver in a Chevy Cruze. He's alongside James Thompson on the grid, and Thompson's teammate Rob Huff and Mikhail Kovslowski make up the row behind him with the 3 factory larders. Well, at the tail of the field, a couple of changes. Gianni Morbidelli clashed with Gabriele Tarquini. Big accident for the Italians' car, or both Italians' cars in free practice. Tarquini will take no part in the race weekend. An uncompleted shell is being rushed to Paul Ricard today to be built up for next week. And we will also not have Peter Foulin making his World Championship debut in a Seat. His car was damaged in qualifying. His engine has been given to John Philippi, his Campos Racing teammate, in the TC2 spec Seats run by Campos. Campos Racing cars also in TC1, and the difference between the two, TC2 is essentially last year's 1.6 litre turbos, around 300 horsepower. TC2, like these cars, much bigger, fatter arches, much bigger aero, 380 horsepower or so. Now, this is what happened in free practice. Tarquini outbraking himself, Morbidelli getting it wrong in the chicane, and you see from the onboard, Matt Neal, what an impact that was. It bananaed the Honda.
Yeah, it looked quite innocuous from externally, but yeah, it's a big hit. It has bananaed, written the Honda shell off, and they've had an awful lot of work to do to get the Cruze up and running.
Where performance matters, you'll find Total Quartz.
Here is the Sol Castrol Honda. This weekend, Gabriele Tarquini's shell destroyed. The internals of that car have, in fact, the entire car has already left to go to Paul Ricard, where we race next weekend, so that the shell can be stripped and it all put into a new shell, which was part assembled as the spare car anyway. FIA President Jean Todt down there among the well-wishers on the grid. And what has really triggered all the changes for this season, wholesale, has been the change to the 1.6 litre turbo engine. We had 1.6 litre turbo engines last year. What has happened this year is the air restrictor for the turbocharger has been enlarged. More air means you can burn more fuel. Burning more fuel means you produce more power. They've gone from 33 to 36 mil. 3 millimeters doesn't sound like much. If I said to your road car, you're going from 300 to 380 horsepower, then that sounds like a lot more. Of course, Matt Neal, more power means it's going to be going faster, so you need more grip. More grip means you need more aero. It means you need wider tyres. It means you need bigger wheels because you've got to fit bigger brakes in to slow the thing down. And the wastegate set at 2.5 bar means that nobody can produce more power than they're allowed from the turbocharger. Now, of course, the turbo, spinning at countless hundreds of thousands RPM, is the single hottest component. Exhaust gases from the cylinders go straight through it, and so the cooling is absolutely essential. The intercooler for the charge that goes through from the fresh air into the engine is vital, and of course the lubricating and the cooling of the bearings in the turbochargers has always been the Achilles heel of any turbocharged engine.
That's right, Martin. The new regs, as last year, they're restricted to 1 engine per year. But I think it's 5 turbos they're allowed to use, because obviously the turbo is the engines are unique to each manufacturer. The turbo is a championship regulation one which they all have to use, and the temperatures they're running at are in excess of 1,000 degrees, and the manifold, which is the primary exhaust feeding off the engine, when they're on the dyno, they actually become translucent, so you can see through them. The heat in them is that excessive, and so obviously they're making those out of all exotic materials and trying to insulate them as well, but keeping that heat in obviously does age them very quickly.
Yeah, and the experts tell us that under braking, the metal of the exhaust manifold stretches because it's so hot, and then stretches back or contracts again as the car accelerates, the weight of the turbo moving backwards and forwards. Now here's a big story, big in both ways. 2 meters 8 this chap is, which by my reckoning at 1 meter 97 being 6'6" means he is at least 6'10". Matt Neal and I, if you know Matt from British Touring Cars, you will know he's no shorthouse. Dusan Borkovic stands a head taller than us, and he is starting his first ever World Touring Car race 5th on the grid. I talked to him a little bit earlier. He said, I am very nervous. It's like starting a spaceship trying to get one of these things, all the buttons you have to press and the settings you have to have right. He said, I'm very nervous. Well, a man who'll be less nervous will be the world champion, 4-time world champion now, Ivan Muller, in this brand new Citroën C-Élysée. Realistically, he probably should have started on pole position. He was up on his qualifying lap until he misjudged the last chicane, trying to pinch an extra 100th here or there. But he will start on row 2 of the grid in 4th place. But what might be interesting, Matt, is that we've watched various cars doing practice starts as they've left the pit lane, and you noted that the Citroëns, who are 1st, 3rd, and 2nd and 4th on the grid, seem to be the least efficient at getting away from the line.
That's right. I mean, they were all doing their practice starts, and obviously the start. People say, what is the hardest thing about driving one of these cars? And a lot of us always say it's getting them away from the line fast. And whether it's with their rally experience and then trying to, because we all run different engine maps for starting and different weather conditions, and obviously the start line map they've been working on, maybe it's akin from their rally background, they're trying to reduce wheel spin. That's actually not the fast way to do it. And I was watching the practice starts. The most impressive ones off the start, at the box, look the Ladas. They look very aggressive, and the Citroëns look very lackluster getting them off the line. So my bet is, if I was down a betting office, I'd love to see Chilton into turn 1 first.
Well, it could happen. The Chevrolet is very quick, very good away from the line. Sebastian Loeb, 9-time World Rally champion, number 9 on the car, front row of the grid. And let's make no mistake, this team is all about Loeb, but with Ivan Muller drafted in as the most experienced touring car driver they could find, with Jose Maria Lopez as a wild card, these 3 drivers, these 3 Citroën drivers, Matt, today know that in Macau, in the FIA Gala, one of them will be world champion. That is almost without question. And now, right now, from this moment, for 24 races, it's got to be gloves off. They have got to beat their teammates to be champion, and that is going to be a fascinating fight to see.
FIA WTCC is delivered by DHL.
4 monstrously long straights housed by hairpins and chicanes, so it's going to be a real toughie, very unforgiving for him.
Long, fast, very bumpy. There's Gabriele Tarquini, should be racing today. He's not. You know, he's got to put this behind him, and he has already. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't any fault of the team. It was just getting hit by Gianni Morbidelli. Well, let's get down to the car that's third on the grid and hear from Tom Chilton.
Welcome back at the WTCC in 2014 with more exciting race cars. They're bigger, more downforce, and we're about 6 seconds faster. Marrakech, maybe not ideal because it's like a street circuit. If you make a mistake here, you get punished big time, like what I had in the free practice. We're now in the green flag lap, so we're going to the grid. First, high-speed chicane, third gear, long straight, up to the corner number 5, which you all the way, you go down to second gear. Then a long left-hander you just saw until the corner up here for the long straight back to the first chicane in second gear. Then a long straight back to the high-speed chicane. That's the chicane where I softly touch the barrier. Let's say it like this, all corners, but that's another problem. My car is fixed, and that's in third or fourth gear. And then up to the last corner, which is down to first gear. I mean, yes, slipstreaming is working. First time with these type of cars. Let's see how these cars race. But one thing is for sure, it's very challenging for me and also the others. I have to prepare for the race. Bye-bye, keep watching.
Clearly Tom Coronel, not Tom Chilton. Teammates at Roal Motorsport. You saw the Roal team bosses, Roberto Ravaglia and Aldo Prio in the garage. There is Tom. Field being led round by our poleman, Jose Maria Lopez. He leads the championship as well. 5 points from sitting on pole, ahead of Sebastian Loeb, Tom's Chilton, Ivan Muller and Dusan Borkovic. And there is the man, Yves Maton, who is the head of this programme. Cars coming to the grid for the first time in a long while, not led by the safety car, not pacing themselves for a rolling start. There is James Thompson's engineer in the Lada garage. This year, another of the big raft of changes is that all races will be from a standing start. So, for Citroën, for their drivers, for the Chevrolet drivers, for the Lada drivers, for the Honda drivers, for everybody, the season is just about to get underway. I think 2014 is going to be a fascinating campaign. Multiple World Rally champions come racing. How will Citroën do? They have been fast in practice, fast in qualifying. They dominated qualifying with the front row of the grid. Can they convert that into victory on the streets of Marrakech? Jose Maria Lopez and Sebastian Loeb. The revs rise, the red lights are on. The season is underway, and a very slow start indeed for the black car. Number 77 of René Munich, he gets away slowly, but the front row got away very nicely, and Citroën 1, 2, 3. Ivan Muller, Matt Neal, is going to try and challenge for the lead as early as he humanly can, but there will only be one rule: don't hit a Citroën.
Oh, is that Munich off again?
Yeah, nearly took off teammate Gianni Morbidelli, and Munich has gone from 7th on the grid to last.
The Citroën's made an average start, not brilliant, but I think Chilton didn't uncharacteristically for Tom. He's normally very fast out the blocks, and he didn't manage to get the power down well enough. Otherwise, I think he could have at least held Muller off. But here comes Montero. He's already on the charge in the Honda.
He's got by Dusan Borkovic, beg your pardon. So Norbert Michaelis, Mehdi Benadi behind in their Hondas. Then Hugo Vallant made a good start in his Chevrolet. He's in front of Tom Coronel in 10th, who skates wide. Lada trio right behind. Very good start from the back by Gianni Morbidelli, the ex-Grand Prix driver, trying to atone for his mistake the other day. And he has latched onto the tail of those 3 red Ladas. And look at Hugo Vallant. You see what I mean about Brawn GP colours, Dayglow yellow and white. Citroën 1, 2, 3. They're dropping Chilton on this first lap.
Yeah, the Citroëns have got the hammer down, but I don't think there's any team orders in-house, as long as they've obviously not got to hit each other. That's the key point. But round here, if they push each other hard enough, this circuit is incredibly unforgiving. It's narrow, it's surrounded the whole way round by unforgiving concrete walls. You know, we've got 4 fiercely long straights just edged out by tiny little bumpy chicanes and hairpins, so anything can happen. Oh, someone up the inside of Vaillant then.
Yep. So the Citroens come towards us. Lopez, Loeb and Muller, then Chilton. Then Thiago Montero, Dusan Borkovic. Drive-through penalty, by the way, for the 77 car of René Munich. He's in the pit lane. Now, I would assume that his clutch was slipping in some way and he couldn't stop himself jumping the start, because he certainly didn't make anything like a good start and just dropped right to the back of the field. He's gone through and out again, so maybe it was, as Dusan Borkovic said, lack of familiarity with the controls necessary to get this car started and off the line. Yellow flags in the final sector.
Munich will have just been coming in for his drive-through penalty for jumping the start. Now, these Citroens are in flying formation. I mean, Lopez is definitely pacing himself at the moment, but these new regulation cars, they are more reliant, a lot more reliant on aerodynamic. Now, you can see him ducking out to try and get some cool air in. The ambient has gone down from yesterday, which is better for their engine cooling and their brakes as well. But if these two, Loeb and Muller, following Lopez, they've got to be careful, because they're going to start using their tyres up very, very quickly, and then that'll hand it back to Lopez.
Montero and Borkovic having a great scrap for 5th place. 4th place in front of them, and starting to pull away a little bit more again now is the black car of Tom Chilton. And then behind, you got Norbert Mikulits. There's the local hero, Mehdi Benanis, in the red, white and green of Marrakech, of Morocco rather. And he's got Hugo Vaillant behind him. Montero and Borkovic. And Borkovic now clearly got over his nerves. The red, white and blue colours of Serbia on his car. He started 3rd on the grid. Oh yeah, René Munich moved, then stopped.
Then got mugged by the two Hondas.
Yeah, that's a little harsh, because boy, he certainly didn't gain anything from that, did he? Here's Tom Coronel's view. He makes contact with Munich, who's stopped. Little bump from his left rear to René's front right, but he got by. And Jose Maria Lopez leading into the first corner, as he does now. Yikes, Gianni Morbidelli, that's where he got it all wrong and T-boned Gabriele Tarquini in free practice. This time, he didn't hit anybody.
Well, they've all been incredibly well behaved so far, haven't they? So, a few little straight lines through the chicane. Well, there's a lot of pressure on Montero's shoulders today, because, you know, Honda are the... there you go.
That's what the yellow flags are for, a little bit of damage. Hugo Vaillant getting
he gave it out before he
he
took it himself as well, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, the Honda are the reigning champions, for manufacturers champions, so, you know, they've got an incredible task in front of them with Citroen coming in this year, so... But with Montero out on his own, without Tarquini as his wingman today, he's on for a tough couple of races.
Yeah, he is. And look at Borkovic. He's really pushing hard. Montero on the narrow inside line mat, and that makes it easier to defend, but harder to get the car quickly through the chicane, because you're offline and you're making it tighter for yourself effectively.
Yeah, all he's going to do is slow himself down, give Chilton some clean air, just to pace himself behind the 3 Citroens, and, you know, open himself up more for attack from Borkovic.
Well, the fastest lap of the race, no surprise for race leader Jose Maria Lopez, 1:44.731, 1:44.748 and 1:44.835 last time round for Loeb and Muller. Now they're down into 44.1s, so they've gone 0.6 quicker on this lap. They are really starting to stretch their legs now. And Matt, you know, we've seen in the last few Grand Prix how Mercedes have got the dominant car and how the teammates are really making a race of it. We are absolutely going to see that from the Citroen trio. Not one of them is going to roll over for the others. That much has been clear right from the beginning of qualifying.
Exactly the same as when we had the pace car at the last Formula 1 Grand Prix, and the 2 Mercs were out front. Suddenly they just put the hammer down and they were gone. And they're in another league. And these guys, they've just suddenly, that last lap, they put the hammer down. They're a second lap quicker than Chilton in the Chevy on that lap. So, yeah, it's going to be... Muller's not going to be happy in 3rd, I know that.
Damage to René Munich has brought him back into the pit lane for a 3rd time. Tom Chilton all on his own in the black Chevrolet in 4th place. Mum and Dad here watching. Thiago Montero in 5th. The best of the Hondas with Privateer, Dusan Borkovic, I beg your pardon, from Serbia. And that's going to be such a spoonerism all season long. And the Serb is really, really giving Thiago a tough time.
Now, if Thiago starts slowing that pair down even more, what it's going to do is hopefully for Thiago, is bring the other two Hondas into the play.
Well, that's what you would have thought by now might have happened, and Borkovic looks up the inside. There's a little bit of contact, and Thiago runs wide. Now, the stewards will look at that and see whether or not they feel that was an unfair move. Interesting, the tiniest touch, making all the bodywork fall off, though. Well, he was trying to get down the inside. Thiago closed the door. Matt as a draw. Oh, now Montero, has he got a puncher? Smoking heavily at the rear.
It's an arguable case, because you could say that Montero is just going for the apex, but then the Chevy side of the coin will be Montero's tried to close the door when Borkovic has already got his foot in it. So it's a good arguable point. You know, you'd have a good argument from either side of the fence on that one. And I mean, the good thing is no one ended in the wall. Yeah, both continuing. And Borkovic, of course, was on the dirtier side of the track, so it was less likely to be able to slow as efficiently as Montero. I mean, the other argument is it's clear to see that the Honda was holding the Chevy up. So.
Yeah, well, that's his. It's the job of the faster car to get by safely, not the job of the slower car to let him go. But Thiago is struggling now because he has got both Hondas behind him, Norman Mikulis and Mehdi Benani. And if Benani gets a pass in here, you wait until the crowd go mental in the grandstands. We'll hear it above the noise of the engine. Sebastian Loeb in second place, Ivan Muller in third, but still the fastest man on track is Jose Maria Lopez, leading in the Citroen. Now 3/4 of a second clear, which is nothing if you make a mistake in a chicane. Yeah, 3 Hondas flying in formation. But it's sort of breaking down into teams at the moment. We've got the 3 Citroens, then the best of the Chevys, then the 3 Hondas, or the 2 best Chevys, then the 3 Hondas. And then James Thompson 10th, Rob Huff 12th, Mikhail Kozlowski 13th. In the 3 Ladas, in amongst them, they've got Tom Coronel in his Chevrolet. Hear the wastegate chattering on somebody's engine as they build up speed out of the chicane here. On board with Morocco's hero Mehdi Benani. Citroens have dropped to a nice steady gap between them to give themselves a little bit of air, but every lap that Loeb follows Lopez, he's going to be loaning. He's soaking up valuable, you know, he's not done a race in anger yet, and every lap, I mean, he's a class act, there's no argument there. But it's just his inexperience of circuit racing that every lap he's going to be soaking up more and more information from the other two, and he'll be a tougher act to beat from every race on. Big lock up there from Sebastian Loeb. He's trying to close the gap to Lopez. He obviously feels he's let the engine cool down enough and himself cool down enough, and now he's attacking hard. The gap was 0.85 before the beginning of this lap. I think it was less than that getting into the chicane. Looks like it's less than half a second, maybe not even 4/10. Loeb having a big push here. Now, he's not got the racecraft experience that, say, Ivan Muller has. And there's Rob Huff's car. Looks like temperature problems. You're always going to see those blowers on because the extraordinary underbonnet temperatures. Turbos running at 1,300 degrees Celsius. But it's a bit of a drama for Rob Huff. Debris on track. Now looking here, it seems that Loeb's car is coming to him when Lopez's car is going away, but Muller's is going away. But they'll all share data, they'll all work together, but there will be an inter-team battle, not just between the drivers, but the engineers all want to be top dog in the team. You know, they're all, look at that, Loeb, fastest lap of the race so far. Closed by 2/10. Or a little less than 2/10. Gianni Morbidelli all over the back of Mikhail Kozlowski. Teammate Rennie Munich is behind. Incidentally, there will be a black and white flag shown to car number 7, Hugo Valente, for the collision at the hairpin here. But no decision yet on the collision between Borkovic and Montero, who were 5th and 6th and are now 5th and 6th, but in the reverse order. And Morbidelli's got by Kozlowski. Gianni Morbidelli really blotted his copybooks seriously. Look at the heat and the smoke coming off the brakes. We're expecting this. The Chevrolet drivers were, as a man, saying we are really struggling on brakes. The feel in the brake pedal not there even in the early laps of a session. Yeah, the aero and the weight advantage of these new modern cars means they can brake incredibly late in them, but they've all been, it's not as bad today because the ambient's gone down, but we had 36-degree ambient yesterday, and so the on-track temperature was
absolutely excessive, and they were all frying the brakes in no time at all. It should be easier. You know, we had darker clouds earlier, even threatening a bit of rain, but the blue sky's peeking back through, and it's actually starting to creep up in temperature again now.
On board with Tom Coronel. In front of us is James Thompson. This is the battle for 10th place. Don't forget, Tommy starts race 2 from pole position. If he's got a car left, he just hit the tyre stack on the inside of Matt Neal. Unlike your road car, basically all you can see out of here is the top of the dashboard and then the road in front. You're so low in a racing car, you can't see those corners. And for a lot of the drivers who haven't, like the Citroën team, spent 6 months testing, judging the width of those extra fat wheel arches is difficult.
Yeah, and I mean, a circuit like Marrakech, it's incredibly unforgiving. We had a shot from above at one of those chicanes earlier on. It was absolutely fantastic because from the outside, it looks like the drivers are going in, maybe just drifting a little bit. When we see from inside, you could see how hard they're working at the steering wheel, catching the oversteer on the way in, playing with it, working at it, wrestling with the car, trying to get it through to the second apex and just keeping it out the wall on the exit.
Well, top speed of these new cars isn't a great deal different from the old outgoing ones. They've got around another 40 or 50 horsepower, but there's much more drag. They're much wider, so bigger frontal area, bigger wing, bigger splitter, much more efficient front aero and rear aero, and all of that gives you grip, but grip at the expense of drag, inevitably. And it's because there's no real corners here, the top speed isn't that much different. What we're really going to see with these cars is their mid-corner speeds are going to be sensational compared to what the older, narrow-tyred, less grippy cars could produce. So here the lap time is quicker, but when we get to other circuits with corners that we've been to, I think they will extend even further inside the old lap records.
That's right, Martin. I mean, you get to the likes of Spa, where we're doing the full circuit, which is a fantastic, and Paul Ricard, which is the next one next weekend. And, you know, we're going to see these cars coming through. Marrakech is very much a point and squirt, where with the Citroën engine, it's a derivative of the all-conquering rally engine. They will have focused on a lot of torque. I mean, it's been changed and updated and modified a lot for racing, but it will have a lot of torque, which will help them here for their for their speed out the corners.
Apart from anything else, they've got more power than they ever had in the rally engine, so that, all that is adapting as well. So everything's built by Citroën, apart from the tyres, everything. So in-house, all their electronics, their engine management, their gearbox, their transmission systems, everything is in-house, so they have absolute quality control. And, they've really come in with a Formula One attitude, down to mopping the floor when the cars are out of the garage to keep it clean and nice looking. I
was told they'd spent 10 million euros on development of the electronic side of the engine. Electronic side, not
Tom
mechanical.
Coronel's in, more damage. Look, the front splitter, the entire front splitter looks like it's come loose because it's separated on the right where he hit it and on the left. So he's out of 11th place. Meanwhile, our Honda battle, Montero, Mikulits, Bernani.
Now, a lot of these guys, they're going to be going into uncharted territory. A lot of them haven't been able to do enough testing. They've been going for outright speed.
Morbidelli's in as well.
Two Chevys in trouble.
Right. We heard that there were going to be brake problems. I wonder if both have come in with brake problems.
Chilton seems to be lapping pretty strongly still. He's still in the low 45s, which is...
And Hugo Vallant there in the white and Dayglow yellow car is also a Chevrolet, and he is in the hot, turbulent, lack of cooling air behind this little queue of Hondas, and he is surviving. There might be other issues with no morning warm-up, Matt. This is the first time since he T-boned the Honda of Tarquini that Morbidelli's been able to run the car, and you can look at it in the garage and put it all back together in the garage, but it's not always exactly how it should be. It might still be a legacy of that for him, losing a morning warm-up.
Martin, I have to interrupt. This is getting good now. We've got 5 laps left to go, and this Citroën battle is closing up. I mean, you can see them all looking for fresh air, and that's partly for their engine, partly for the brakes, but it is closing up. There's a stone's throw. There's just over a second covering a blanket to all 3 of them. So I would hope that it's going to spice it up a bit in the closing laps.
Well, we just saw Franz Engstler. This is his teammate Pasquale Di Sabatino, their first and second in the TC2 class. with John Philippi in third. Broken brake duct for Gianni Morbidelli, reports Ben Constanduras from the pit lane. And I imagine with the splitter so loose, or the whole front aero package so loose on Coronel's car, he was running into a cooling issue as well. And being on pole for race 2, I'm sure the Roal guys, a broken gear lever for Tom Coronel. Wow, in that case, the Roal guys have definitely got to work hard, because they've got to fix it and get it out, or get it fixed before Parc Fermé rules apply before the race, between the races. Stewards will investigate the clash between Montero and Borkovic after the race, or apply a penalty after the race. Lopez, Loeb, Muller, top 3, covered by 0.6 of a second last lap.
Oh.
Less than that now, Matt. It's looked like the last lap of them on, and they're forming up for a formation photo.
It does, doesn't it just?
Yep. Okay, so here we go. This is the Daytona 500, isn't it? 450 miles, just making sure in contention for the last 50. This is 16 laps, 13 of which are making sure you're in contention for the last 3.
But Martin, this is Lopez slowing it up.
Yeah.
They've either got an issue, which they're following a party line back at the pits, but at the moment, the fastest car on the circuit by a country mile is Chilton.
Yep.
So we could see him. At the moment, he's a few seconds down the road from these 3, but we could see him. Are these 3 playing the party line, or are they going to have a go? That's the question.
I would have suggested, even for a company as controlling as Citroën, that having them hold station from lap 1 of the first race of the season might be a little bit over the top.
Chilton's coming into picture now.
That's Morbidelli.
Oh, is it?
He's just come out of the pits again.
Oh, I'm disappointed with that.
Chilton is 6 seconds behind them.
These 3 are now 4 seconds slower than they were at the beginning of the race.
Yeah.
Well, even mid-distance in the race, they've suddenly fallen off the edge of a cliff.
Yep. And I wonder if that is brakes or tyres. They've been using the new tyre. It's an 18-inch wheel. It's now an inch taller, and it's 10 inches wide, not 9 inches wide. But they've tested this car exclusively on the new tyre, never on the old tyre. They went through 800 tyres in testing. You only get through 180 in a season per car.
I'll tell you what, Martin, Chilton is just over 5 seconds down the road, and he's almost 2 seconds a lap quicker than these guys at the minute with 4 laps to go.
Well, one thing is certain is you can put 3 Citroens side by side across the road and stop a Chevy winning.
I don't know, it could be good to watch.
It would be very good to watch. That would be a great ending to the race. Meanwhile, here is our battle for 7th. Thiago Montero's just up the road. The black and red car, that's Norbert Mikulits in 7th. Mehdi Banani in 8th. And with the Dayglow roof, that is Hugo Vallant in 9th. Very impressed with his ability to adapt himself to this new car. Really inexperienced driver, Vallant, in terms of this World Championship, and has done a standout job all weekend. So too, though, is Jose Maria Lopez. 1 race weekend, only in Argentina, in a BMW. And here he is, put the car on pole. He's led every inch of the way. He's resisted to superstar, multi-world champion teammates, and he's still in front. Well, there is Chilton, the second of the black cars, so he is closing very fast indeed on the Citroens. Lap 12 of 14, 2 to go after this. We're only a third of the way into the lap, and Tom Chilton, as he gets down to corners 4 and 5, is still closing fast on the Citroens in front. They're lapping very high 1:46s, low 1:47s. René Munich comes back into the pits yet again in his Munich Motorsport Chevy. His teammate is the first black car with the white flashes, car number 10. Ignore him, Gianni Morbidelli's a couple of laps back. But Tom Chilton, Matt Neal closing in at 2 seconds a lap. He'll know that because the team will be telling him. But what can he do? Is he going to get to them even?
Yeah, we need Morbidelli to help Chilton and give him a tow up some of the straights rather than hinder him. Chilton doesn't need any hindrance at all. I can only think these 3 are following a party line. Muller would be attacking. Muller does not attack. He's a street fighter. And give him a sniff, and be going so slow. They've got to be, if they are, then they get a resounding boo off me at round 1.
Well, French teams have a history of trying to control finishes in all sorts of racing. Peugeot, not yet, but Citroën rather, not yet, but Peugeot absolutely have, and it very often backfires. If they're starting that now and making Muller stay 3rd,
you'll be able to tell from Muller's body language when he gets out the car.
I don't think, yeah, there'll be no, yeah, it was as fast as I could go. The guys did a great job. No, he'll just stalk off. I mean, you know, the controlling is to such an extent that that
right,
Justine,
look at that. Right, look at
girlfriend...
I've just noted the times. Lopez has just smacked. They've all just smacked.
Yeah,
they've gone 2 seconds quicker now.
Right.
Same time as Chilton. They've seen Chilton closing and they've opened up again.
Yeah. Let's not be silly. Let's go quicker.
That confirms that.
So it's in team formation. Whoever's first into the first corner wins the race. But I mean, their controlling aspect is such that even wives and girlfriends are not allowed in the garage to watch the TV monitors during qualifying or the race. They are banned from the garage. Because it's obviously such a busy place and there's so much going on that they'd be in the way of.
Yeah, maybe the Citroen top brass should go to Formula 1 to chill out a bit.
Yeah, Formula 1 is less anal. Norbert Mikulits makes a mistake under pressure, and Mehdi Benani is going through. They've got a few Moroccan fans watching that with delight, and Mikulits is slowing right down. Through has gone Hugo Vallant. Mikulits is in trouble. Matt, he went straight through the chicane, and that suggests to me that he's got a brake problem.
Susceptible to brake problems. They were struggling with brakes on that car in free practice when they were trying a few longer runs.
And Vallant is no longer tucked right up behind Mehdi Benani. He's on the opposite side of the track, trying to get cooling air through his air dam. This is a chance for Citroen to post the result they were hoping for, a 1-2-3. They didn't get it in qualifying, probably should have, but not all plans go according to the rule book. Rob Huff looking to get back into the car. No, he's not, is he just putting the steering wheel on? Huff is out, Coronel is out, Munich is out. Our front row pole starter for row 2, Tom Coronel, with that gear lever problem, that could be a major issue, a real disappointment for Roal Motorsport.
Yeah, the Chevys have been, because it's such a last-minute thing, RML have been building 6 cars. You know, the spares is an issue of what they're all carrying. And I wouldn't have thought a gear lever would be a real sort of prime one that they're going to bring as spare. You know, the small bumpers, splitters, and more consumables which are going to get eaten by concrete walls and other cars. So well, I hope they have got a spare one somewhere.
Again, bearing in mind the big crash that Tom had earlier in the weekend in free practice, maybe there's a legacy from that as well, that's finally a casting has cracked. Last lap, we're on the back straight. It is going to be a Citroen 1-2-3 unless one of these highly qualified drivers makes a very rookie error. Jose Maria Lopez won his 2nd ever World Touring Car race, and he is going to win his 3rd ever World Touring Car race, which will give him a hit rate far greater than any multiple champion so far. Into the final chicane, he's escaped that one, just the hairpin remains. Sebastian Loeb was half a second behind and is showing no signs of making a pass into the hairpin, and Ivan Muller even less. Muller must be stewing livid if they've been told to hold station after the first lap. It's going to be a Citroen 1-2-3, Lopez wins, Loeb in 2nd, Muller in 3rd, but there was no battle between the teammates, and was that team orders. 4th, Tom Chilton, great result for him. 5th place, Dusan Borkovic, a fantastic start to his top-class World Touring Car career. Smiles all round at Citroen. They have done what they have spent a year planning to do. They have had the rules changed to their satisfaction, built a car to the new rules that nobody else had the time to do, and they have come out with a thoroughly well-tested car. So well-tested, in fact, that they even spent a day at a racetrack with 2 cars deliberately hitting each other in racing situations to find out what was going to break. That's the level of preparation that has allowed them to sweep the board. You just saw our TC2 winner, Franz Engsler, leads teammate Pasquale Di Sabatino by 20 seconds. John Philippi will finish 3rd. And whatever else the ramifications of the 1-2-3 formation finish, by getting pole position and by holding off his teammates at the start and controlling the race from the front, as Engsler wins TC2, winning outright, Jose Maria Lopez has shown that he is not just that other guy in the team. He is now going to be our championship leader after the first of 24 races.
Well, I'm interested to see that all 3 body languages as they get out of the cars. I'm more interested than Lopez winning, because we were struggling to get a smile out of him after qualifying on pole yesterday. So someone had trod on his cat.
He's pretty relaxed, isn't he? Well, now,
I want to see Muller when he gets out the car.
This is what would have happened if Chilton had caught them at the end of the race, isn't it?
I think you're probably right, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe the Citroen top brass that told him he wasn't allowed to smile.
I don't know, they seem to be smiling quite happily.
Yeah,
oh,
they
look,
do
they've even got a French flag, but they'll be drawing the covers down to hide everything that goes on in the garage. Keeping our cameras out through free practice. Now they appear to have realised that actually being on telly isn't such a bad thing after all.
Maybe Thomas put a Citroen shirt on now.
Well, our pits cameraman went to Yves Maton and the head of the engineering setup there and said, what can I film, what can't I film, cleared everything, and was then immediately in first free practice thrown out of the pit lane by their PR lady. So public relations, going well with that then.
Not quite as well as the cars are going.
No, indeed. I think the drivers are going to be doing an awfully good job for Citroen, no matter what the front of house staff do, because this is a very relaxed paddock. It is a very friendly championship. It's going to be very hard to maintain this facade of rigid discipline. So the Argentine flag and the French flag together being taken down to the Parc Fermé area to greet the top three cars, all Citroen's C-Élysée. A 1-2-3 result. Jose Maria Lopez is our race winner. And with the two Alsatian multiple world champions, as I said at the beginning, 13 world championships between them, 9 for Sebastian Loeb, 4 for Ivan Muller. Jose Maria Lopez, who last raced in Europe in Formula Renault V6, comes back to Europe in an entirely different category and produces a stellar result.
Yeah, for those people who, I mean, Jose has got an incredible pedigree. Some people might not have heard of him, but he's a Renault Formula 1 test driver. He's GP2, Renault World Series, yep. Formula 3000, multiple TC2000 Argentinian champion. So
Sebastian Loeb changing settings there on the steering wheel, possibly so nobody else could see them.
I wondered whether that was Lopez's car he was leading into.
Oh, yeah. Turning up the heater controls and winding off the brake balance. I think that was his own car. I think we had the camera on board in his car, didn't we?
Oh, we got some smiles as well.
Yeah, yeah. And rightly so. And I think we've enormously increased our audience in Argentina as well, because this man is a proper superstar. Motorsport, second only to football as a crowd favourite on Argentine TV. He's a multiple Argentine touring car champion. And that is step one to perhaps becoming a world touring car champion.
Muller looks happy. Not.
Well, he's looking relaxed.
You know, okay.
He's happy for Lopez.
I tell you what, this is unfolding. This is going to unfold like a good book this year, because Muller doesn't take well to being beaten by teammates, and that's great. That's great for us to see as a fight. And Loeb will be soaking up the info and will be a great competitor. Absolutely right.
So Jose Maria Lopez is our race winner, the Argentine dominant for Citroen.
Jose Maria, winner of race one here, World Touring Car Championship in Marrakech. You must be very happy. Congratulations.
Yeah, I don't believe it. You know, in these occasions, first things it comes in mind, you know, to thank all the team and my teammates, everybody who made this possible for me. 4 or 5 months ago, I never imagined this, so I'm really happy, really happy. Wanted to dedicate to all my family, all the people who support me, all the people from Argentina, and my girlfriend, all the team has been very kind with me, my teammates, Seb and Ivan. So it's thanks to them, to a great car, you know, to win here in the street circuit, which is not easy. It was quite special.
There was no big battle between the three of you. Why?
I think, you know, we were a bit afraid from the brakes. We had some big problems yesterday, so we push as hard as we can, but always been aware that the brakes, you know, were a big issue. So I think we battled a little bit, but in the end, we took the cars to the end with a very good points, with a podium finish for the other team. So I want to congratulate all Citroën that also, you know, a year ago they were in rally, never involved in the track. So now they are here and they are really working well.
Congratulations, well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, and yes, indeed, congratulations to Jose Maria Lopez. And she came in with the big question, Matt, why was there no racing? And they held up they played the brakes card. They've been testing relentlessly for 6 months and they still can't get their brakes to slow the car down. Then I think they've got more than that to worry about. Well, confirmation there of our race result. Jose Maria Lopez, the race winner. His teammates just easing off towards the end. Tom Chilton closed to 6.6 seconds behind. But you would think that maybe if they've been watching Formula One, they might realise that there is good PR mileage in letting your teammates race each other. Look at what reaction there was to Mercedes allowing free rein to Nico Rosberg and to Lewis Hamilton to race each other and pass each other endlessly. It just proved so exciting. If we're going to get formation flying for every race, then they're going to shoot themselves down because people are going to turn off in their droves.
I can see if they've got a technical issue with the brakes, and brakes have been an issue here, not just for Citroën, but for every marque, every new car, TC1 spec car. So if they have got an issue, they don't want 3 cars in the wall, and I can see them, you know.
If they've got an issue with brakes after 6 months of testing, they've got... I can't imagine that being the case. I find that really hard to credit. Nobody else has done any testing on their cars because they were racing different cars last year. I think that's a very handy excuse that has been handed to them by everybody else. However, we'll wait and see for race 2. Spoiler alert, it may be that the Citroëns are quite quick in that as well.
Well, the one positive thing in race 2 is we're going to see them starting back in 8th, 9th and 10th places. So we're going to see how they can race.
Indeed.
And see how they can manage traffic. So we'll hopefully Coronel the Rail guys can get Coronel back on the road, because we definitely want him to take up his pole position.
There's been a slight delay to the repair time. It will now start at 5 o'clock local time, which is the same as British summer time. So we're an hour ahead of GMT, an hour behind CET here. Well, Citroën have had the dream start, haven't they? Very quick in qualifying. There's the 1-2 result in the Independence Trophy. Franz Hensler on the right, Pasquale Di Sabatino on the left.
Position de France, Ivan Muller.
Third place here for Ivan Muller.
En deuxième position, il fait honneur et rapide, Sébastien Loeb.
Sebastian Loeb in second place.
Le champion des champions, the winner, Lopez Jose Maria.
And Jose Maria Lopez from Argentina is our race winner. 1 of 24 races is down.
Le team Citroën.
And Citroën 1, 2, 3.
Le gagnant du trophée.
And they will also receive the trophy for the winning team. Franz Hensler comes out to take the Yokohama Trophy win.
Sur la marche des constructeurs, super, merci. Attention mesdames et messieurs pour l'instant.
And so we will have our trophies presented. And then before that, the national anthem of our winning driver.
Et maintenant, mesdames et messieurs,
And for our winning constructor, the national anthem of France. That's a very fine idea from the Citroën team down below to sing it, since the circuit organisers seem to have lost the anthem.
super, mesdames et messieurs, nous allons passer à la remise des trophées.
I think they had to abandon that one because Jose Maria didn't know the words.
Well, I'm not quite sure how they managed not to find the French tape here, but Citroën will clearly be bringing their own to future races.
Yeah, it's not as though they don't speak French in Marrakech.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Yvan Muller adds yet another Marrakech trophy to his collection.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Louis Marrakech.
Girlfriend Justine is here with their daughter. I wonder which garage she was watching it from, because she won't have been in the Citroën one. In the Royal Motorsport team is where wives and girlfriends of the Citroën team were welcomed. Sébastien Loeb, second place for him. First World Touring Car trophy, first World Touring Car race, first World Touring Car podium. And Jose Maria Lopez. Well, Matt Neal, it was a fairy tale story last year in Argentina when in a Vika Sport BMW he took victory in race 2 after showing such pace in race 1. But now he's in a genuine front-running car, and he has beaten his 2 teammates in qualifying and in the race. He's got to feel comfortable now as he holds up this massive trophy presented by FIA President Jean-Todt.
Martin, I'm just laughing how he's going to try and get that on his hand-carry baggage to get back on the plane.
Yeah. That's going to have to go in the truck to Paul Ricard. Structors trophy.
Du nouveau sang grâce à Monsieur Général Mouche, président de la Fédération marocaine du sport automobile.
Circuit announced saying so many technical changes for this year. And of course, Citroën had more of a running start at it than their rivals. Everybody has had to adapt. More powerful engines, more aero, bigger brakes, bigger wheels, bigger tyres. All sorts of strains. The whole transmission will have had to be re-engineered for the extra power. Franz Hensler with one of last year's cars, Liqui Moly BMW driver, again putting in a very strong race to win the Yokohama trophy. Oh, I mean, that's a bit of a hefty old beast, that trophy.
Doesn't want to drop it on his toe, does he?
They want to make Lopez's forearms pump up, so he's a bit tired for race 2. This is all part of it, right? No, you've got to hold the trophy up. No, it's a killer. Yeah. It's all the tricks of decades of racing. So there you go, the first race of a new season. New rules, new imponderables, and lots of question marks still remain. One thing that is certain is that Citroën have got a very potent team on their hands. Engsler, Di Sabatino, Filippi, the top 3 in the Yokohama trophy. And disappointment for Peter Foulin, who did not get a chance to race here. Franz Engsler, incidentally, next weekend will be racing World Touring Cars and 2 European Touring Car Cup races in Paul Ricard. So he's going to be a busy, busy driver.